before I bring up Cindy, I want to talk about a couple of things. One, everyone knows that there's two people we're thinking about on this day that are passing. One, of course, is the unjust taking from us of Casey, Cindy's son, today in Iraq 9 years ago. The other one, of course, everyone knows is that and the assassination anniversary of Martin Luther King. And to dovetail off of what John was talking about, if you haven't already, when you go home, Google Carl Gibson and Martin Luther King's Who Really Killed Him. It was just put out yesterday, and it talks about the conspiracy, the governmental conspiracy to kill Martin Luther King, and names, it is a fascinating read. I think that everyone should read this because then they can understand that these guys are serious about it, about their murderous ways. It's not a joke. And it was going to be visited on us if our Occupy movement went a little bit too long. I mean, everyone has heard about how they were intending to use snipers in Austin on the Occupy activists. If anyone thinks that that's not true, I tell you, please read this article that just came out.
Where is it?
It came out, I saw it, I believe.
Common Dreams.
Common Dreams. It's on a few sites, Carl Gibson, but you should read it. The one thing I want to say about Cindy is, looking back over the years, I'll never forget, I think Sacramento has a special connection with Cindy because the first time that we brought her out, and she started to come to the various clubs and so on, I remember her and Pat sitting there, but I remember a woman who was finding her voice. And I remember the halting quality that Cindy had when she would speak. And everyone, because they were hanging on every word in this room, would be like leaning forward because she could barely get the words out during those days. And her voice was small. And so it's been amazing to see her evolution and to see what she's become. And I often like to think that this is kind of, Sacramento was the place where it was the beginning of her realization of what her destiny was meant to be. And when I think about that and I think about our connection to this, I get very emotional. So I want to bring up my dear friend, and I'm so honored, and so are we all, Cindy, to have you in our lives, and for you to talk about what's going on. And this is totally in keeping with what you've always done, Dee Dee there too, and all the times that we've all been getting arrested together, in the ditch together, and in every other place. We're going to keep it going with this. So please give it up for Cindy Sheehan, please.
When I first said I wanted to do Tour de Peace, we were just going to head down south, but then I thought we have to try and make a stop in Sacramento, and everything Karen said was true. We've done a lot here. I considered Occupy Sacramento my home Occupy, even though I was like going all over the country to different Occupies. It was the only Occupy that I got arrested at. And I feel like people are behind me.
Sir.
Do what you have to do.
Yeah, we have to dress rehearsal. So I'd like to thank Karen and Linda. Where's Linda? I thought I saw her here. Oh, and the committee for organizing this. The food was fabulous. Thank you so much. I'm a vegan, and to complicate matters, now I'm a gluten-free vegan. So, people say, oh, what did you have for dinner? I said, I had a real piquant air. I had like a glass of air, and I chewed it. It was yummy. So, whatever. I see like gluten-free vegan muffins. I'm like, oh, I'm in heaven. Heck yeah. It's something that you guys all take for granted, you know, right? And so anyway, it's really great to be here. Had some good food. We drove through Davis for our first lunch stop at the Davis Food Co-op.
Yeah.
And Malcolm and I got free food. And we were telling her about the tour and they knew who I was and stuff. So they're, oh, it's on the house. But I just got like this little thing of vegan, veggie sushi. I was like, if I knew it was on the house, I would have loaded my little basket up. But so, oh my gosh, there's so much to talk about. So much to talk about. The first thing I want to do is I see all the smiling faces of the people from my party here, Peace and Freedom Party. Deborah, John, Linda was here, C.T. Weber's here. He was the chairman, state chairman, previous to the one we have now. And are you in the party? Next to C.T.? No, you're just with CT. Okay. Okay. Well, if you're not in the party, you can register tonight. Peace and Freedom Party. We need 40,000 new registrants to stay a party because of the stupid Prop 14 law. Anyway, while I have my party here, and this is all of us. We're all here together in this room tonight. I'm running for governor next year. So just remember me in my bike shorts and my sweaty shirt. I'm really going to make this a cornerstone of my campaign, though. I was trying to pretend like I could get it higher.
Maybe you can take the mic out.
Okay.
We can hear you.
I got soaking wet today, and I've been very wet. I'm recovering from upper respiratory infections and an ear infection. So I don't want to I need a microphone is what I'm trying to say. And so one of the cornerstones, I think, and of a campaign for governor in California, of course, has to be really more investment in renewable, sustainable, clean forms of energy production. And not only that, but more mass transit, more light rail, more bike trails. You know, that was really important coming here. And so, you know, things like that. And I'm going to do a lot of bike riding on my campaign. So it's not something that's going to be, next time you see me, I'm not going to be dressed in I don't even know any designers. I was about to pull out a Ralph Lauren. That's right? I won't be dressed in Ralph Lauren, whatever, Chanel, Coco, I don't know. I don't even know what they do. Yeah, a pantsuit. You won't see me in a pantsuit next time you see me. So anyway, about 3 months ago, I was actually on my computer, which is not unusual either, and I was talking to Malcolm, one of our tour organizers and the support van driver. We were instant messaging each other. And so we often, all of us who have been working for a long time in peace and justice, we often are very frustrated. I mean, it seems like we live our existence being frustrated. You know, what can we do? Is there anything we can do to stop these wars? Is there anything we can do to stop the economic warfare on us? What can we do? You know, so the only thing I haven't done is ride my bike across America. I've done car tours across America. I've been all over the world. I've run for office twice. I've been arrested at least 20 times. You know, I've tried everything. I haven't been doing it very long. I know some of you have been doing it for 40 years when I wasn't even born yet, so that's my... Some of you have been like just since, I've just started recently, like 9 years ago. But I've tried a lot in 9 years. I camped out in Crawford, Texas many times, and I think I could just retire because I did that. Karen came out to Crawford. Anybody else here? Dee Dee, of course. But, that's special. Camping for 26 days at the side of the road in Crawford, Texas is a real gift to humanity. So we had fire ants. Do you guys even know what fire ants are?
Yeah.
I'm like, we don't allow them to cross the border into California. They have to stay there. You can't even barely see them, but they send people to the hospital because of fire ant bites. Rattlesnakes, Republicans, just all kinds, Democrats now. There's this thing I have with John Gold. We've been friends for a long time. He's always like, what do you always say? There's no justification for the post 9/11 world or something like that. What's the justification for the pre 9/11 world? It's like this country has been a crap ball almost since its existence, with slavery and killing our indigenous people to extermination. People were rightly shocked and upset when Sandy Hook happened, but there were many massacres of Native children that didn't even, the 21 children doesn't even match the massacre of Native children. They're like, this is the worst disaster of children in American history. Yeah, no, it wasn't, not even close to the worst. And these were the original American children that were being slaughtered. So yeah, there was no justification for the pre-9/11 world either. And this is what many people have said. In Jeremiah Wright, remember, said, the chickens came home to roost that day, right? And so, and I'm saying, I know we were lied to on 9/11. You know how I know? Because our government talked. And when our government talks, they're lying. So you have to know that we were lied to about 9/11. However, are we trying to say that people around the world don't have a reason to be angry with America?
No.
So that's something that we have to think of too, thinking that if you think, and I don't know what happened, John readily admits that he doesn't know what happened, but to say that it was our government that did it, that's kind of saying that our government doesn't do terrible things around the world to make people mad at us, right? So, but we were definitely lied to about 9/11, for sure. So anyway, today, of course, is a very sad day for my family. And Casey wasn't the first soldier to be misused and abused by the U.S. government. And of course, millions of Iraqi and Afghans have been killed, wounded, displaced since 9/11, and it's still happening. This is my major frustration, is that since Barack Obama has become president, he has participated or is participating in bombing 8 Muslim Arab countries. There's troops and or drone bases in 35 African countries. Could a Caucasian president do that and get away with it? Could a Republican do that and get away with it? No. And so, to me, Barack Obama was a gift to the ruling class, because he is able to get away with so much more than Bush. Well, they still do it, right? By get away with, I say, there's very little outcry against what Obama's doing. If it were a President McCain or a President Romney, we would have, instead of 3 of us riding our bikes, maybe we'd have 300. And so that's what's frustrating. And we have demands. You know, our demands are end the wars, end the persecution of whistleblowers,
Yes.
prosecute people who need to be prosecuted, you know, from current and past U.S. regimes, and the use of fossil fuels, transition from fossil fuels to clean, and we already have those technologies. They just aren't invested in because big oil gets billions of dollars of subsidies every year. And they don't pay taxes on the money that they do make, or they don't pay their fair share. And so what are our other demands? I know we have more than that.
Partisan apathy.
Oh yeah, the very last one is to end partisan apathy. You know, to really say, if you care about peace and you care about justice, then you still have to be in the streets.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you're not in the streets, then you know why. Because these things are still continuing. So it really doesn't matter if Obama's president or Bush is president or whomever is president. There's institutional empire momentum. And I always say Barack Obama is the best Republican president we've had since Bill Clinton. And so that's what I always say. I'll take Q&A after I wrap up. So anyway, that's the frustrating part, is all the comrades we had, you know, the thousands of people in the streets, hundreds of thousands of people sometimes when Bush was president. And I almost feel sorry for Bush. I don't feel sorry for him. I said I almost feel sorry for him. Because he must be sitting in Dallas or wherever he is just going, what the people? You know? Really, what the heck's going on? And I mean, you were always up in my grill about everything. Why aren't you up in Obama's grill about the same things? He's doing the same things. He's just like me. You know, so, and Bush knows they're all part of the ruling class. So, and Occupy did a really good job of identifying a class divide. But I think 1% and 99% doesn't quite tell the whole story. You know, the 1% couldn't stay in power if they didn't have their police state, if they didn't have their media, if they didn't own the banks, Wall Street, you know, everything. So it's not all about just the top 1% in income earners, it's their support structure also that needs to be identified. So that's why we're going across America. You know, don't just come and say, oh, Cindy Sheehan's here, Cindy Sheehan, Campton, Crawford, Texas. Cindy Sheehan hasn't stopped. You know, I haven't stopped working for peace and justice for 1 minute. You know, I had 2 camps in Washington, D.C. since Obama's been president. I had 1 camp in Martha's Vineyard where Obama was vacationing. And I just want to say one thing that's different about Obama than Bush. Obama vacations in much nicer places than Bush did. So Martha's Vineyard is like, that was almost a vacation for me going there. But going to Crawford was like, oh my God, we have to go to hell again. And we're in Crawford. Have any of you spent a lot of time in Texas?
No.
There's a million Crawford, Texases. They just are called, just like little blinking, you know, flashing stoplights. One in the whole town. and a few hundred people, and there's a million of them. And the first time I said we're going to go to Crawford, I didn't even know where it was. You know, Texas is a big state, and it could have been hours from Dallas where we were. Luckily, it was only a couple hours from Dallas. But anyway, what was I saying? So we got some cool shirts, and we're biking across the country. And today was the first day. We only have 89 days left. And today was an absolutely fabulous day. I told my friends that I was biking with. We did have Dan go from Vacaville to Davis. And we were on the country roads between Vacaville and Davis, kind of just taking the whole road. And we're like, yes, we do own the whole damn road. You know, not very many people go down them, but we're just pedaling along, chatting along the way. And I had something I was going to say about that, but I forgot. But I'm like, every tiny muscle in my body is screaming right now. From my feet all the way up to my head. Everything is sore about me. But we rode about 45 miles.
Wow, awesome.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, as soon as I announced I was going to do this, I got sick. And so 3 months I've been trying to get better. And so I'd have an upper respiratory virus. I get better from that, and I said, good, I get to go out and train for my bike ride. And then I'd get a stomach virus. And then I'd get better from that, and I'd say, oh good, I get to go train for my bike ride. Then I got an ear infection. You know, so it's been like one thing after the other, so I haven't been able to train, so I was like, I can't even ride 10 miles. What am I going to do every day? But I went the whole freaking way, 45 miles.
Yeah.
So I'm very proud of myself. And so what else do I have to say?
I can tell you're tired.
I'm really tired. I'm super duper tired. I get super goofy. You know what? It might be a good time to take Q&A right now.
Cindy, wait a minute. Just tell them what we're going to be doing in D.C.
Okay, I want to say two things before Q&A. Maybe Q&A will help me focus back to whatever I'm supposed to be focusing on right now. Hi, Bill and Zoe. So, the first thing is we are raising money to pay our expenses along the way, but anything we have left over will go to two charities. One is a charity that's working in Iraq, and one is a charity that's working in Afghanistan. So,
The charities.
yeah, the charities. And you can go to our website. One is Iraq Health Now.
Iraqi Health Now.
And they send medicine and medical supplies mostly to Basra. Basra was hit very hard with depleted uranium. Their children have high incidences of leukemia, birth defects if they weren't born yet, and hard cancers. And they don't have the medicine and the medical supplies they need to take care of these children. I met a pediatrician from Basra in Japan. And I went to Japan right after Fukushima, like 5 months after the earthquake and tsunami and the meltdown at Fukushima. And so it was Hiroshima Day, Nagasaki Day, that I was there. So the days that the U.S. dropped A-bombs on the innocent people of Japan. And so the pediatrician from Basra is Iraqi. He sat me down and immediately began to tear me a new butthole, you know, to say politely, from what the U.S. did. Can you imagine being a pediatrician and all of your patients are dying? You know, and you become a pediatrician because you want to cure. Well, you become a doctor because you want to cure people. And what he told me was Laura Bush, her foundation, built a beautiful hospital in Basra. A beautiful pediatric hospital. It looks beautiful. It's constructed well. It's got some pretty walls, but no equipment. No medicine. You know, so that's what, so the charity, one of the charities we're helping, the organizer from the United States lives in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And there's no zoo in Kalamazoo. Just, I'm going to tell you, I've been there. I looked all over for the zoo, but it's not there. And her brother was killed in Vietnam. So she's a Gold Star sister trying to do something to give back to humanity. And then our other charity is the Afghan Youth
Peace Brigade.
Peace Brigade. And so they're doing a lot of peace work in Afghanistan. So we're actually going, those are our two charities. And what we're doing in DC. Now, I like to call Washington, D.C. washed up deceit or washed up disease. And we don't, you know, I don't really like going there anymore. I've spent a lot of time there. And I can't spend more than about a week before I start to feel heavy and sad. And it's very malignant. It's a very malignant place. And so I don't want to spend too much time there anymore. I don't think that's where the seat of power is anyway. That's just where the CEO puppets are, right? That's not the seat of power. And DC shouldn't be where the power is. The power, it should be here. You know, the people have power. And so that's what we're trying to do, is make the journey, to make this Tour de Peace about the journey, not about the destination. Right. We're basically just going to ride around the White House and throw another petition over the fence and ride out. You know, it's like, this is what the people want you to do. You know, we're not coming with like big money. We're not chairmen of the board of Monsanto or Chevron or Wall Street. We're just citizens. We're citizens. You know, and nothing's going to change unless there's a mass movement. So we're hoping to hopscotch across this country and do that. And just say, you know, we have the power. I really think that we need a revolution in this country. And these days, it's not going to be a revolution of force. I mean, the side we're fighting has nukes. The side we're fighting has Hellfire missiles. I don't think that they would be afraid to use them on us. Look at their assassinating American citizens in foreign countries without due process. So our revolution has to be what Martin Luther King Jr. said so long ago, a revolution of values. And our values, and this is what I know about every American. I don't care if that American is a Democrat, a Republican, male, female, gay, straight, whatever. Our values don't match the values of the criminals in Washington, D.C.
That's right.
Or on Wall Street, or wherever. Our values are the right values. And it has to be our values that prevail in this country, not the values of the 1%. Because they have values, they're just all screwed up. Right? So it's our values, and we're not going to change anything by making false divisions with people in our own communities that have the same values as we do. You know, so that's that's the revolution we need. I have a feeling that this empire that we live in, and we do live in an empire, is on the verge of collapse. Well, there's never been an empire in history that didn't. And we have some recent examples of military empires that collapsed. Very recent examples, like the USSR. And their decade-long war in Afghanistan, and how it stretched their resources to the breaking point where it had to collapse. And I'm not opposed to this empire collapsing. I think the world will be better off. I think we eventually will be better off. But they know in the top that this empire, that this empire is collapsing, and what they're doing every day is putting band-aids on capitalism. You know, they're trying to support the system. They're trying to prop up the system to the detriment of us.
Right.
And it can't sustain itself for much longer. But how are we going to survive and build a society based on our values and not their values? And that's what we have to talk about. That's what the conversations need to be about, is what's going to happen when their system collapses. It's their system. We have to create healthy systems of our own to be able to survive that collapse. So that's why we're going to Washington, D.C., or washed up disease, you know, or washed up deceit. Just to say, you know, we still know you're there, but you're not relevant. You know, this is what the people want. And this is what the people are going to create with or without you. And this is what's so awesome about me running for governor of California. You know, it's because maybe we can't do it as an entire country, but we could do it state by state. You know, we can do it community by community. And our current governor thinks he needs to balance the budget on the backs of students, on the backs of the elderly, on the backs of other poor and disadvantaged people, without saying, hey, you know, why don't we make the corporations pay their fair share? You know, I was born and raised in California. When I got out of, I feel like I walked to school, you know, uphill both ways, barefoot in the snow. I feel like that I'm saying this. But this is the truth. When I graduated from high school, university and college was free for state residents. We had a great education system here. And his father was responsible for a lot of that. Jerry Brown's father. And it's going to heck. I can't cuss anymore. We have a baby in the audience. I have 4 grandbabies now. Isn't it awesome? I'm going to be away from them for 3 months. That's a big sacrifice. And so we know a California where these things can be done. But when I was going to school, corporations paid a minimum of 35%. And now, a maximum of about 13%. And they're always saying, oh, but if we don't, you know, if we tax them, then they'll leave the state. You know, that's their big excuse. First of all, who in their right minds would leave California? You know, if you want to do business and if you want to make money, you're not going to leave California. But this is what a revolutionary government would look like. You'd say, well, you can go. You know, bye. We don't really like you anyway. But guess what? All of your assets and your company now belong to the people of the state of California. We don't need you. Bye. Hello, bye. And so I'm kind of modeling this on, kind of, not totally, because you can't switch systems. One system that's good for one country isn't going to fit totally in another country. But I'm kind of modeling this on the Bolivarian revolution of Hugo Chavez in Venezuela.
Yeah.
You know, who said the assets and the wealth of our state belong to the people, not to U.S. corporations or other global corporations. And we're going to use that wealth and those assets to make life better for the people of the state. Why can't we do that here? Well, you know what? Guess what? We can. And we have. And we just have to go and convince every Californian that it's this way. It's not great, but it could be that way and be so much better. And we have to convince everybody that they deserve health care. They deserve education. They deserve food that's free from GMOs and other poisons and toxins. They deserve clean air, clean water, housing, human rights. Here in the United States, we've been beaten and convinced that all of the things the 1% have are privileges. Well, that's baloney. They're human rights.